tendency, that's the measure of center of a set of data. So let's say if you're looking at class scores or something like that on a test, there's a lot of different ways that you can measure the center. One option is by doing what we're typically used to hearing in the classroom, which is finding the mean. And we know that as taking the average. This is where you add up all of the different values and then divide it by the total number of values that you had. There are two different things here that's important to keep in mind. There's something called the sample mean. This is basically just the mean that you take of a sample set of data. So if I'm just looking at a sample of people that live in my neighborhood and I'm asking them their ages, this would be the sample mean. And the way that you denote that is by using X, and then you have a little line over it, bar. So this is X bar. You're going to see this as we work today, especially if you're going to use your TI-84 calculator, your graphing calculator. This is the symbol that you're going to use for the sample mean. The population mean, this is like, if you can talk about an entire population of people or whatever it is, this is a Greek letter. It looks kind of like an M, but it's kind of fancier. This is called a mu. So the Greek letter mu stands for the population mean. But this is the symbol that you're going to see the most today. Median is another measure of central tendency. The median is basically if you take all the data values, put them in numerical order from least to greatest, you would find that middle value. So if there happens to be two numbers in the middle, then you take those two numbers and average them to find that median. And then the mode is the most. So whatever shows up the most. Something can have multiple modes. So it might have like 3 different modes, or it might not have a mode at all. And we can calculate all of these on TI-83 or 84, any graphing calculator, or Desmos. And I'm actually going to show you that. There are 2 videos that I have that are separate, one for each, but I'm going to do a quick breakdown of both of them in this video here as well. So the first thing I'm going to start with is we're going to use this data here. Megan interviewed 8 of her friends and asked them how many times they had been pulled over by the police for speeding. This is the data that she received. So she has some drivers, some friends here, maybe that aren't the best drivers, but she's going to use this data to find the mean, median, and mode. I'll show you with Desmos first because I know this is something that we all have access to. And there's a couple of ways that you can do this in Desmos. The first way is by adding a table. So if you hit the plus sign and go to table, you can input the data here in this first column, X1. So you can just type it in and hit enter, 3, 2, 1, 2, 4, 0, 6, and 3. Now, in order to find out what the mean is, you can just type in mean, but it has to know of what. What would you like Desmos to take the mean of? So you're going to put a parenthesis, and inside here, you have to put the title of the column where your data is. So since our data is in X1, we're going to type in X1, and it tells us that our mean here is 2.625. So we would be able to type that in or write that into the blank right here. And I have a funky mouse right now, so it takes me a minute to write this out. Boy, but you'd have 2.62. Ooh, look at that. 5. That is rough. Okay, so sorry, my mouse is being very weird right now, so just bear with me. If we wanted to find the median, same thing. You can type in median of X1, and we would get that that's 2.5. So you can go ahead and put that in your blank. Now, if you try to type in mode, unfortunately, mode is not going to work. So there is a way around it. I mean, obviously, this is a small enough set of data that you could figure out the mode on your own. But another way to kind of get around that is by using a dot plot. And if you do dot plot of X1, you can see these dots that show up over here, and it shows us the frequency of how often each value shows up. So 1 showed up 1 time, 2 shows up twice, 3 shows up twice, 4 shows up once. So since 2 and 3 both show up twice, this would be bimodal. So this particular situation, we would have 2 modes. So we would say 2, and then you just separate it with a comma, and then you would have 3. Again, that median was 2.5. Bear with me again with the weird mouse, but 2.5. Okay. If you do have a calculator, you could use a TI calculator, and I'll show you that as well. So in the calculator, what you would do is you would go to Stat, and you would go into Edit, and you have these lists here where you can input the data. So again, we would do the same thing, input those values 3, 2, 1, 2, 4, 0, 6, and 3. If there was data in here that you had to clear out from the very beginning, you could have chosen clear list, option 4 here. And if you choose option 4, the thing is you have to tell it which list to clear. You can see L1, L2, L3 above the buttons 1, 2, and 3. So if I wanted it to clear that list, let's say list 2, I could hit second and then hit 2, and that's going to bring in L2, and I could hit that and it'll clear that out. But mine was already cleared. So I've already input the data into that first list. Now we want to calculate our statistics. So if you go over to calculate, you can choose one variable statistics, hit enter. It asks what list you would like it to calculate from, because you might have data in more than one list. So L1 is what we wanted, so we would keep that there. But again, if you needed to change it, you would hit second and then hit any of the buttons to pick the list that you want. If you arrow down, I don't need anything here, but then if you arrow down again, you can click calculate and it will calculate everything for you. So here we have that X bar symbol. As a reminder, this is for a sample mean, so 2.625. And then you can scroll down and you will also see the median of 2.5. It obviously has some other information here. N equals 8. This is the number of values in your data set. The minimum value, the maximum value, both of those are in there. Q1 and Q3, if you remember that from box plots. Standard deviation is going to show up later in our unit, but all of that is there for you if you should need it.